All right, time for Morning Beat. The next time you're at the Honolulu International Airport and you hear that overhead music, it may not be one of your favorite musicians. It might just be artificial intelligence. Matthew Leonard is here from Civil Beat to talk about this. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Talk about AI just taking over. All right, so how did this come about? How did you learn about this?
So a couple of readers who are into music basically said that they were sitting in the departure lounges, moving through the airport, and they heard something that didn't quite kind of gel with them, and they started kind of questioning whether there was AI being used to generate some music. In fact, State DOT confirmed for us that they are using these specifically 17 different AI-generated themes, they call them, at the top of the hour. So basically from 5 a.m. to midnight, they're running these 3 to 4 minute themes that have very specific kind of lyrics based on the airport or features of the island. So the thing that people were alert to was that this is kind of a break from our expectation of the airport, that it's a gateway for Hawaiian culture. It's something that people are all, we're all expected to seeing, seeing hula, for example, at the airport. But this is kind of a kind of an incursion of AI-generated music in something that we expect to be a cultural space that represents Hawaii.
Let's back up a little bit, because I wanted to talk about how they were able to identify the fact that this was not created by a human.
Right. So they used detection apps. So you record a clip of music, you can look and see if it's actually something that's generated by a human. There are a bunch of different apps
like
that can do that. So Shazam, there's a bunch of them. And then the State DOT confirmed, in fact, yes, they are AI generated, and there's something that they've created. They wouldn't say why they've done it. I mean, they sound kind of like motivational, if you like, or morale boosting almost, because a lot of them celebrate things like the TSA workers and the baggage handlers and that kind of stuff. So that was the other piece of it, is there was this incongruous or kind of like, slightly off or incongruous piece in the lyrics. Right. So an AI singer can get away with singing about the TSA in a way that a legitimate performer, would struggle with, I think.
Yeah, I just found it fascinating that you would Shazam something and you wouldn't find an artist, and that was kind of the key to saying, oh,
there isn't a public, exactly. Right. So there's not a public playlist. It's something that's proprietary to the airport. Yeah, exactly.
So when you talk to local artists, they're saying this could actually cost them real money.
Yeah, and in fact, the United Nations has just done a very recent study that shows that musicians' revenue are at threat, could drop by 25% because of AI-generated music. It's something that really impacts the income of artists. So a couple of local musicians I spoke to said this was just really a lost opportunity. If you think about it, there are lots of artists who would have leapt at the chance to do something that represents the islands, that represents Hawaiian culture, that represents the airport and their workers, but it was something that the state decided they would use AI to generate, and that's kind of what that was kind of their point. And it's sort of something that's consistent with other sort of cultural appropriation and other sort of ways in which Hawaiian culture can be, is kind of being watered down through AI.
All right, so you mentioned you can hear it basically anywhere in the airport that's not run by the corporation, the parts that are run by the DOT.
Right.
But right now,
they actually told us they pulled them down. So they would normally play at the top of the hour, but apparently they were playing too loudly. Like if you look at the videos on social media, they are really loud. And so people are commenting on the volume of it. So I think they're doing some sort of correction or production to sort of make sure that they sit more consistently with the other Aloha music that they're playing most of the time.
Fascinating stuff of how AI is taking over our lives. You should read the full article. You can find that at civilbeat.org or text 66866 to get the newsletter. Thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.